Yo, what's up, guys? There is just too much shit to ban, dude.
I'm playing support, but I want to play jungle.
Select your god.
It's gonna be a lot of emoji in my games, I feel like. This character is so OP, man. Brother, what is their team comp? Like, I was gonna go physical, or strength, because I haven't done that much on Tsukuyomi, but into that team comp, I feel like I'd rather just be int, because I don't want to be close to their team comp. It's gonna be tough either way, though. I don't really think Tsukuyomi is that good into their team comp. Oh, it's Vexel too. Yikes. Damn, it might be time to start banning Yemoja, but there's already so much shit to ban. Oof. I've reached a point where I just prefer not to even be banning because it's too fucking stressful. What am I even against? Let me just check this. Uller. Probably going to need beats done. That sucks. Fuck, bro. I feel like I have to go Aegis though. If we ever hit late game into like the Yanas and the Huyis and the Shibalonkes, like, I'm just gonna get a one shot. Like, Shell wouldn't be bad either, because I feel like once the late game comes around, Vexel might just be walling me off the whole time. This shit sucks. I mean, literally none of us can get out. I feel like Shell is just really good here. Even if it's just to help my team. I want to see what they go though. We're going beats on the Mulan jungle as well. Probably just gonna build the usual and stuff. Go Bancroft again. Dude, I can't be the only one going shell. Right? Okay, I guess I'm the only one going shell. Whatever. Hopefully this doesn't bite me in the ass during my laning phase.
Did you mean to have an active Apollo or no?
Yes. Be right back. On my way.
I was like, sure he has Thunder to secure the buff, and I looked.
Minions have spawned.
Fight well for your family.
Good.
At least Uller isn't a terrible matchup for me, so should be okay.
This won't miss. Let's switch it up. Let's switch it up.
Missed.
Your right tower is under attack.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh shit, I have my stream open as well. Oh, I gotta remove that.
Back. My apologies.
Okay.
Ah, I fucked up. I thought my clear was gonna be a little bit better compared to an Uller, because Uller's clear isn't really that great. But I guess it's because I wasted my one for poke. Cooldowns are so rough. Yeah, 14,
Shablanki is on
14.
the buff, I'm back, but I don't know if we can fight it because you're pushed out, right? In mid.
Shingetsu, strike. Attack! Attack!
He actually jumped. Okay, well, I guess I'm chasing this.
Ally has been slain. My Getsu burn bright. Be like this.
Set up an ambush here.
Surely he didn't mean to jump. Surely he meant to use his 3 in the other stance. I have to guess that. You know, I'm just gonna try something different.
It is good to be me.
I'm gonna try something different here. Let's go cooldown. Normally I would just go for the Bancroft, but...
Blank is there.
This won't miss. The ring purify this land. Watch your step. Shingetsu, strike.
I need the jungle buff.
I am okay. Your
unfortunate. I don't really know what the fuck the team went. I guess they just did the flame brands, fire brands.
No good.
Oh well.
Falling back.
Baron, why did you take the blue buff?
Okay.
Yeah, Baron took it.
This won't miss.
Guess I'll have to settle for this then. No blue buff for me. No, dude, Vexel's getting fed.
Greetings, intrepid hero.
Shingetsu, strike! Your left tower is under attack. I am divinity. Fall before me. This won't miss. Never imagined it like this.
Tower, please.
Enemies incoming.
I missed my one. That was pretty bad. If I died, I would have been pissed. Let's get the poly early. I didn't really think about this build, to be honest. I just decided I wanted to try cooldown first instead, now that I'm actually into it like an ADC. Because this will be harder for me later on when Ulu can one-shot on a combo, but right now I should be okay. And it's gonna suck not having lifesteal for a while.
Shingetsu, strike!
Enemies.
Blanca is right, Jimbo.
That beast is coming to us.
Savagery has been eliminated.
Nice. Okay.
Taken care of. It's time to get to work.
He's at right jungle, but I guess he went
Savagery
left.
has been eliminated. This won't miss.
Oh no.
Okay, okay, okay.
Shingetsu, burn right. The ring will find its land. Your right tower is under attack.
He just wasted everything. I mean, our comp is so shit. Why do I have Mulan jungle? That sucks. Me dying for that was not really worth it, and I did not get the kill on Umoja either, so no shutdown for me. It's tragic.
Your right tower is under attack.
And I almost lost my tower for it too.
Gank left lane. On my way.
Let's switch it up.
Okay, I'm guessing the first one when he jumped wasn't a mistake then. That is just something he wants to do. And I guess I'm trying to understand why. I do kind of think I understand why. He thinks my 2 is gonna stun him. So he's jumping it. But it ain't, because I'm int. It's an honest mistake. Probably hasn't met a whole lot of int Zukus.
Ally has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack.
Greetings, intrepid heroes.
Emoja's coming left. Emoja's returning left.
Enemy missing middle.
Enemy missing right. Watch your step. Ally has been slain.
Okay.
Yeah, I miss everything.
Fabuloso. Shingetsu, strike.
Let's see if he knows where I am. So far it's been a bit sus.
Your middle tower is under attack. I am divinity. This won't miss.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have agents
4
against
people
me,
there
so
though, bro.
let's rotate to see if I can actually help them out.
The rain shall wash them away.
Guess I couldn't. Not in time.
Oh, he's the wrong team. I am sorry. The Pyromancer has arrived. Your left tower is under attack. Strike! No! This won't miss.
On my way.
Your left tower is under attack. Your right tower is under attack. Be right back.
Attack!
Shingetsu.
Guess I'm dead anyway. Oh,
Enemy ultimate down.
that's so close.
Dare they lay hands on me?
Yo, Walder was a man. Oh, Waldrum.
An implement worthy of
He portal too. He should be dead. Get him.
Chase
He's
the
low.
enemy!
Looks like they won't get him. Dude, our comp is absolute dog shit at chasing. That's all I'm saying.
This won't miss.
We're so bad at it. Outside of Apollo, probably.
The rain shall
Complete it.
wash
It
them
is
away.
good to be me.
Can I? My Aldia's up pretty soon.
Tower is under attack.
Just gotta wait for my ult to be back up.
Your left tower is under attack. Fabuloso!
That works. Let's get some lifesteal
Your
here.
left tower has been
I'll at least grab a soul gem. Bruh. He's missing an item. Where's the vital lamp?
Yeah, nice work.
ally has been slain.
Enemy missing left.
Retreat. This won't miss. Retreat.
This isn't really a good fight.
Strike.
Maybe you could just.
Your right tower is under attack. This won't miss. Enemy missing right. Magetsu, boom right. Okay.
Oh my god. Really trying to rotate and help, but I guess at this point it's almost irrelevant for me to do so. Oops.
Cold Fury.
Nice work.
Can't you guys just stop fighting about me? Damn it, dude. She won't keep showing up behind. Dude, it feels like there are words everywhere, man. Like, it's same thing with Uller. It feels like no matter where I go, they know where I am. That time it does make sense, though. I mean, I was kind of chasing the honest, so you probably just let them know, but...
The enemy team has destroyed the gold.
I just need one other person, man. I just need one other person to do something this game, and we can actually win it. But I gotta stop risking my life for stupid shit, because my team isn't doing anything. I should just stay in my lane, man. I can deal with Uller, take tier 2s and shit, probably. But if I keep dying like that, then I'm just giving unnecessary gold.
On my way.
Enemy has been slain. Your middle tower is under attack.
Watch your step.
Enemy strike.
Magetsu, boom right.
Janus beats.
Enemy missing right.
Janus beads are down.
2 of them.
This won't miss.
What are we doing on our tower here, guys?
I'll TP over.
The rain shall wash them away. Your team has destroyed a left enemy.
Fucking hell.
I am divinity. Enemy
Just make sure he dies. I ain't jumping on that. Fuck no, dude. I don't trust random Apollos anymore. Hell nah.
Attack fire giant. Shingetsu, strike. Destroyed the pyromancer.
Be right back.
Enemy missing.
Your middle
You want
tower
speed,
is under
Apollo?
attack.
You can have it if you want.
Yes. Thanks.
I'm not doing anything.
Ward the fire.
Shingetsu, burn bright.
Like this. Enemy ultimate incoming.
I mean, he dashed me, so that's nice.
Enemy missing left.
Enemy missing left.
He's just walking in there. Good thing he's tanky.
Says I gotta be take all your loot.
I did expect them to come. I don't know. I guess I was hoping it wasn't gonna be that fast. Nice. Good juke. Good damage.
It is good to be me.
He's doing a lot of work here because he has Contagion too. Lifesteal builds. Oh no. Lifesteal builds are so powerful right now that definitely works out. Contagion is such an underbought item right now. I honestly kind of forgot about it
Team has destroyed the
after I stopped playing frontliners.
Blanca ages down.
Very tempting to just run them down.
Shingetsu, strike.
But no.
The pyromancer has arrived.
Magetsu, burn bright. This won't miss.
As much as I would like to just kill the Uller again, I don't think I could take that risk anymore. Trading myself for the Uller isn't worth it.
Strike.
Can't really rely on getting a potential other kill with him.
Missing.
Okay.
Enemies in right
They're
lane.
all run right by it. Go it, boys. We need to be ready for fire.
CP is
Exactly my point. Like, where are we? Why we don't run fire? They just can do that whatever because we don't have anyone near at all. We don't have any sort of like counter potential. Because they can just look for me without any repercussion. And someone has to check fire. So, that sucks,
It's
man.
not a good fight.
It's almost unfair.
Get him. Before he portals. No! Oh, close. Nice. And Willer just jumps in. I can't believe he just jumps in like that. That is crazy. I'm not sure what my last item should be.
On my way.
I'm dead.
No issues here.
This won't miss.
Actually, I guess I'll back for Upshard always. But they only have one tank. That's the reason why. I don't think I'm going to be going on the tank very much. In normal circumstances, for sure, but... My target is Naji Moja. And she's not even that tanky. She just has a lot of HP. We have to even damage increase against base prots. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right. Might just have to bite the bullet and get Upshard. I just hate the fucking item. I really do. Yeah, probably just Upshard.
Be careful in the jungle.
Ally has been slain.
His dash is down.
The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
And they retreat. Fantastic. And there are wards here too. That's great.
Watch your step. Maybe you could just die. It's almost unfair.
I'm backing, I'm backing.
Ally has been slain. Yeah.
Cooler beads down.
It just doesn't matter, we don't have any wards. We can't really fight back as a result of it. Never fucking know where they are.
The enemy team has destroyed the fire
I think this one's just a surrender angle. The team diff is absolutely insane. I want to say things, but I shouldn't. I shouldn't. I don't know why I have the team diff. It's not like my elo is that high because of games like this. I think I hate Upchart because of the build path. It's so expensive. Dude! I mean, it's just Vex, I guess, on the Yamoja diffing my whole team. From what it feels like so far.
Okay.
Your middle phoenix has been destroyed.
Good thing we didn't surrender. This game should have been so free if I just had one person with me.
Defeat.
But it literally became a thing where as long as they kill me, they win. Actually, is there a Q I can snipe? Let me just check. Because this one is terrible. No, Nika just got a Q. Fuck. What about adapting? Yeah, I guess there's nothing else to do. I'm not just gonna sit and wait for a queue to end. Bro, adapting just got a queue as well. That's fucking stupid. I could have been in that queue then. Well, I fucked myself. I've fucked myself. Shit, that was the wrong one. Hold on. But yeah, I'm rank 5 on Suku now. Cool. Can actually use some of the better looking skins. Instead of the shitty shadow one. I need to do big damage now. I guess I don't have any big damage yet. Fuck. That sucks. It's just gonna split with fucking 52 HP then. Not ideal. I do think if I actually want to win some of these games and potentially carry, I have to go for some of the lifesteal builds. just try to become a one-man army instead. So while Suki definitely is fine, I mean I could have gone for the lifesteal build with strength, but I think Suki is just not as good with that build than like compared to so many other characters. Like if I go like Nemesis or Chak or I don't know, like Hercules type stuff, like maybe I can actually act a bit more like a one-man army and potentially win fights that way. Even CERN, I guess. Might just have to slave some CERN. I'm gonna reset my queue. It's past 5 minutes. That ain't good. I also need to check where the fuck I am. 5.2. Let's see where I end up today. Last time I was 5.2, I ended up being 4.9 in that same stream, so... My ult is also just officially higher than my main now. I ended up in a winning streak last night on my ult, so... Now my ult is just higher. If I want better games, I'll just go on the ult. Fantastic. I didn't see actually. I haven't. What even have I? I forgot. Haven't played this in a while. Okay. I'm not first pick. I'll take it. That's great to me. I'll just remove a card actually. They get pissed, right? They're like, fuck that. Okay, good. Hello, Nectura. Do I want to just play it again? Maybe I do. Sure, why not? I'll try the new skin I have. I have a question. My big sister wants to get a PC for his 6-year-old kid. What would you do if you were me? That does seem very early. Like, that's a big investment in a 6-year-old who might just break it. You know? I don't know, that doesn't seem like a good idea. Why not just start with like an iPad or something? Like, what you gonna use a PC for? Surely we start with an iPad. Or just a phone. Right? We don't go to the PC. She also bought him a tablet and a Nintendo Switch. Then no. Fuck no. The kid has enough. Spoiled little shit. I mean, a 6-year-old don't even know the difference, man. What is he gonna use a PC for? That's what I don't understand. And the PS2 racing wheel, like 3 rooms full of toys. I think that just sounds like it's a very spoiled kid. Like that has to stop, bro. That kid's gonna grow up so fucking spoiled, and not in a good way. Put a stop to that shit. She wants me to put racing games there for now. My father suggested I get him GTA. Yeah. GTA would definitely be a choice for a 6-year-old. Granted, I played Resident Evil when I was a kid, and that scarred me for life. Haven't touched it since. I don't know, I mean, I guess go with your own judgment. Whatever you think is best. I don't think I would do it, because I think it's a little too fucking early for a person to go on the internet at the age of 6. Like, for me, if I have kids, which I don't think I will, but who knows. Like, that ain't gonna be for until probably, I don't know. Which one am I against here? Mulan? Like, I ain't giving my kids a chance to go on the internet until they're like at least 10, I think. The internet is fucked up, man.
Finally,
I don't need a scam on my hands from my 6-year-old. Because they didn't know not to press the ad. I don't even know, 10 seems almost too early for me as well. Maybe it would be 12. They need to have like a functional brain that can tell the difference between right and wrong.
Minions have
The internet is fucking brutal, bro. Especially nowadays. The amount of ads and stuff that pop up. All the bad shit you shouldn't press. Like, F definitely ain't giving that to someone who doesn't understand it in some way. I should have tried Sense of Time this game. But I'm also against Mulan, so maybe going Conduit is nice just for some extra wave clear. Warriors, okay. Yeah, I don't really want to think I want to fight him when he has warriors. That's a mistake on my part. Probably also should have gotten my caltrops. Another mistake. I do have to be very careful here at level 3.
My Getsu burns bright. This won't live.
Careful, right.
watch your step.
No, I missed. Actually, would have been a kill if I didn't miss. That's tragic.
Enemy missing middle. Ultimate is ready. Enemy spotted.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Dude, if I got just one of them, I would have gotten my ult. That sucks.
The light of the city.
Enemy missing middle. On my way. Enemy ultimate incoming. Take this jungle buff.
Do I just cooldown again? I actually do feel like doing a focus is really nice on him because you lose the movement speed on the 2. And int. Kid is also autistic, kinda. He's actually having more trouble figuring out bad and right than others. I mean, I fully get it. I've autism myself, and it was especially hard as a kid. So I can even say that. Do not give him that. He's so overstimulated at that age. He doesn't understand stuff very well. It took, legitimately, it feels like my consciousness started happening when I was like 12 or 13. That's probably why I have the mindset that I do. About don't do anything with them until they actually feel like they can, you know, think straight. And understand the difference between right and wrong. Most kids don't have a moral compass until they're at least like 12. Like when they start hitting teenage age.
Ultimate is ready.
They're very self-centered, very self-focused. They don't really think about anything but themselves and what they want.
Magetsu, burn bright.
Be careful, left. Enemies in the left jungle.
Okay. Think I know where they are in the left jungle then.
With that breathtaking hero, it's time to get to work. Savagery has been eliminated.
Enemy missing right. No worries.
Your right
I'll just
tower
push.
is under attack.
But I mean, I know how easy it is for some parents just to fall over for their kids because they just want them to be happy, and when you give them stuff they want, they obviously get happy, and that's a pretty addicting feeling for a lot of people. It's the same thing with like pets and stuff. When they just keep giving them treats, it makes them happy, sure, but they don't know any better anyway. Like, not to mention, you have to oh shit. You have to treat them consequence.
Has been slain.
Decent damage. If I have my ult, I probably kill Shibu. Okay, that sucks. Got tower at least. But he just dashed in. Wow.
Wash them away.
Nice. I'll take a Deso then, instead of a Poly this time. as someone who owns a pet, like I've definitely been a victim of the big cute eyes asking for something, you know. But sometimes you just have to say no.
Another beast.
Trying to get to
These mighty beasts protect the force of the citadel. Evil cannot deter the light of the citadel.
Oh, he's the wrong team by himself.
Is this a rotation situation? Probably not.
Oh, you move like a jaguar. Ooh.
Yeah, without my ult,
Ultimate is down.
it's probably too cooked.
this won't miss.
No, dude. The Mulan TP? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, I gotta stop being greedy. I don't know what happened in mid. How did Neath die?
That was
I thought he was gonna be much lower. I saw the Neath ult. Maybe someone blocked it. Never mind, actually. Fuck. I'm so sad. I thought he was gonna be really low, so I just decided to fuck it. Or say fuck it. Alright, enough greed. My lane is getting boring.
Your middle tower is under
I gotta stop that shit.
enemy missing left.
But hey, I mean, all I did was give Mulan a kill. Probably won't amount to much, so could be worse.
Gank.
Ally has been slain.
Okay.
An enemy has been slain.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Retreat! Enemies
Enemy
incoming!
missing middle. Retreat.
Your right tower is under attack.
Watch your step.
Retreat. Enemy missing middle.
I mean, just fall back, man. I don't know why I went to him. I knew they were fucking coming. I need to just keep farming. Otherwise, this is gonna go bad into a triple 1k.
Watch your step.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
Getsu, Shingetsu savagery has been eliminated. With that threat taken care of, it's time to get to work.
Your right tower has been destroyed. The enemy team has destroyed the pyramid. Your middle tower is under attack.
This won't miss.
Ultimate is ready. Okay. See ya. Mwah. Be careful left. Enemies incoming.
Okay.
It's level 16. No, never mind. He is 14. I don't know why I saw 16.
Watch your step. Enemy missing left.
Retreat.
Yeah. Random rotation. He didn't even do his wave.
Shingetsu, strike!
Ultimate is ready.
This time I'll grab an up shot a bit earlier. And they will have 2 tanks in this game as well.
Enemy spotted. That's too bad.
I'd rather join my Plex server. Nice, man.
Enemies in the right side, left lane.
This won't miss.
Ready.
Attack! I am divinity! Fall before me!
Cannot sit
Slain
here.
an enemy.
The light of the citadel.
You're the illest.
Shingetsu, strike! You surprise me.
You surprise me. All this actually surprisingly low cooldown.
Got it. Enemies middle lane. Worries.
This won't miss.
Well, I guess I do have Deso as well as
Ally has been slain.
Java's focus.
Your middle tower is under attack. The rain shall wash them away. Oh,
This ain't looking good.
On my way.
Enemy ultimate down.
Ultimate is down.
has arrived. Your middle tower is under attack.
Getsu, this won't miss. Shingetsu, strike!
Enemy has
Man.
That was unfavorable.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Should have just waited. I kept the mid tower alive, I guess, but doesn't really mean much. I thought Aspect Ult isn't supposed to teleport you. It doesn't. I'm not Aspect.
Your left tower is under attack.
The Aspect is kind of shit.
Is ready.
Because you lose so much damage off of it not dashing. So
Your left tower is under attack.
there is one thing I do miss with the Aspect though. Like the Aspect makes all your ranged autos the white ones. And the white ones scale with int. So when you're running poly, all those will hit like a fucking truck. But yeah, it is what it is. I just prefer int. I'm one of the weird ones.
Enemies in the left jungle.
I just think Insuku is really fun.
Getsu, burn bright. This won't miss.
Probably wouldn't feel the same if it wasn't for Polly, though. Polly is probably what makes it so much fun to play.
Watch your step.
I also, well, I guess a part of it is the caltrops too. They're very situationally good, but the caltrops also scale very, very heavily with it. So they hit a lot harder than if you build strength. In strength, it feels like they're mainly just something to annoy the enemy or like proc items with, like Heartseeker and stuff. But
The rain shall wash
Enemy
them away.
missing left. Enemy missing left.
Enemy ultimate down. Be right back.
Enemy has been slain.
I really want to shut down the Xbalanque.
Attack.
On my way.
Enemy ultimate down.
Getsu, burn bright.
Right back.
I think he's missing by now, though.
Enemy
That
ultimate
sucks.
down.
Destroyed a middle enemy tower.
Retreat. Watch your step.
Rain wars.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
More candy.
Getsu, burn bright.
Pretty close to a rod here as well. I'll just keep farming. Get the last 200.
Watch your step.
Missing middle. Enemy spotted.
The perks of
I don't know if we have the Xbalanque Aegis. I'm gonna try and keep an eye on it, because the second he doesn't have an Aegis, I might just go look for him. I think I can one-shot him almost here. Now that I've rod.
Enemies middle lane.
This won't miss.
Your team has destroyed the gold ship. Your middle tower has been destroyed.
On my
Help.
way.
Your middle tower
On
is
my
under
way.
attack.
Be careful. Ultimate is ready.
I mean, we're not going in on that. Så, tig stille. Okay. I'm just gonna stay left if you don't want to fight. Unfortunate that wasn't a crit. Janeway probably dies here eventually. But they're just on fire. No, dude. Get dagger at least. Nice. That's actually kind of big. If he gets out, that'd be crazy. But no, this is really bothering me. Like, why are we not going in on that? My team is just sitting in mid, full HP. Like my Scylla as well. They definitely could have followed up on it. I don't think it was a case of them being too far away. But whatever, I guess.
Has arrived.
They use so much shit on me too.
This won't miss.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower has been destroyed.
The rain shall wash them away.
Attack!
Watch your step.
Illust! Retreat!
I'll attack left lane.
I'm just gonna stay left.
Completed!
Magetsu, boom. Shigetsu, strike.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Help!
Your
Left
team
lane.
has destroyed a left enemy.
Enemy has been slain.
Ultimate is ready. No worries. I'll attack left lane.
Destroyed a left enemy Phoenix.
Get in the chaka. To get it.
And somehow all of a sudden, super fast, we're just winning very hard.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy Phoenix.
Be careful.
This looks like a recipe for a penta. I'll take the trade, that's fine. I don't think he should. Well, now with Nemean, he loses the trade. I was about to say, there's no way Saul loses this trade into a tank. But yeah, Nemean is gonna do that. What would be nice actually? For Poke, I guess Ancient Signet could be nice. Soul Gem would be nice. And Soul Gem does give me cooldown too. I'll just do Soul Gem. Enemy team is a joke. They aren't playing together either, which it feels like we haven't been doing either. This truly feels like a ranked game.
Your team has destroyed the Gold Fury.
There is just so little team play. Very necessary need ult.
Be right back.
Yeah, usually this is actually me trying a different build, because before I would go for something else. I would go Bancroft first. I wouldn't really have any cooldown. It would be fully a build based around, once I actually ult in, I will just heal back up. Which I think is just, it's still nice. But, yeah, it is. It's different.
Strike! The Pyromancer has arrived.
Enemy ultimate incoming. Enemy ultimate down. This won't miss.
Why do I need to be sacrificed for this every single time? Someone screams for attack. And we've cooked all of our abilities. Good slow, but he's so fast, bro. Okay, there we go. That should do it.
You're cool.
Shulang is so OP, I want to play him so bad. He is pretty fun. I do think he is actually fun to play. I played him yesterday on my ult in like 1 or 2 games. Like he definitely is. I'm actually kind of sad those games weren't streamed. Because I had some really good games last night. Oh, that was close that we didn't get that.
Enemy has been slain.
But today I was actually going to play more lifesteal-oriented characters. It's just Suku keeps being let open, and I do want to play
Your
Suki.
team has destroyed the pyromancer.
That's a piece of candy.
It's just better full int? No, I think most people would argue that he's better with strength. But it's not that he's bad with int. You can look at it like this. The damage is higher with int full late game, but I mean he's still gonna one-shot despite anything or everything. The main problem with int is that you lose the stun and the movement speed on the 2, which really sucks, but you gain range.
Evil cannot hide behind walls.
The thing you can do with int is you can also run poly. And that's just an item that is just generally very, very powerful. And is really good on someone like Tsukuyomi.
Wash them away.
Didn't even see Agni was there. Oops. No! Oh my god, I almost cooked it. I think the best way to put it is just that he's different with it. But I think the majority of people think it's not worth losing the stun. The stun and the movement speed on the 2 definitely is a big part of his kit. But I mean, he still does very good damage. And I mean, if you go int, it's generally if you're going like it's either mid or a solo thing. And I don't really think it's that good in solo, but it is primarily a mid thing. Isn't the aspect better with int? The aspect is pretty much only int, yeah. It is supposed to be a mage aspect. The issue is just that, as I mentioned earlier, all the dashes on the ult do so much extra damage that losing those just isn't worth it. The ult does so little damage because of it. It will only ever like dash on them once. So you will beam them like 3 or 4 times. I forgot how many it is already. And you will dash them only once and then go back to the spot where you ulted. That one tick of damage is gonna do fucking nothing. Normally you would dash them 4 times. That's so much extra damage you're losing. I still think it's good late game though, I'll say this. I still think it's good late game. Because primarily the damage comes from the beam itself, the beam hits, but you need damage or items to really make sure that actually there's enough damage to be useful. And also it's incredibly unsatisfying not finishing off a target with it, and you can't follow them because you're going back to the spot where you ulted. That does feel like shit. You have to always try and use it to poke or finish off a target with, because you can't obviously go in with it. It's a little weird. That's for sure. So many of my kills in that game was me actually getting the dashes off of people.
Select your god.
Do we want anything here? Want anything? I'll do a chat game. I want something that can at least negate the Cupid ult too. Tragic. I will say this though, I don't think the Tsukuyomi aspect is as bad as people make it out to be. I really don't. As someone who does like playing him with int, I do think it is very good late game. Once your ult does enough damage to be useful, he does feel good, but for the most part it takes a while to get there. It's not like the rest of his kit changes. What does it even do? Suku ult changes so that you will still get all the beams, but you will go back to the shooting spot. But you only get one dash. So you will shoot your 4 beams, dash them once, and then go back to where you ulted. But because of that, you lose so much damage. Which is why people generally don't think that's a good aspect. You lose quite a bit of damage with it. But if you hit late game with it, I mean, that's great. It still does a bunch of damage, because it mainly scales off of the beam hits with int anyway. It's a safer ult. Like, he's fully a mage with int. I mean, another thing, Vex, if you don't know, if you go strength, he's the character you know. You still have the stun and the movement speed on the 2, but if you go int, it changes. And you lose the stun and the movement speed on the 2, but you get more range with it. So he just becomes a full mage if you go int. The aspect is meant to just further that. Also, I'm really trying to get out of this fucking role. Oh my god. Well, I guess I'm playing support. Fucking hell. Another thing that I really think is cool with the aspect is that, you know how your autos swap between, you know, like the purple and the white ones? In the aspect, you only get the white ones, and they scale more with int. I think that's really cool, because that just makes him even better with something like poly. Like, his auto white autos will easily hit for 500 late game without a poly hit. So, yeah. Well, whatever, I'll play Afro, I guess. Why am I in this role? I just remember watching the aspect, like, I legitimately thought it was going to be broken, because looking at the white auto scaling with int, they're absurdly high. So if you get those after every single, like, range proc, you can do so much poke damage just with the autos. But once again, I mean, he's still a low mobility mage. So, you know, Zeus, he also does a bunch of damage, but if he gets CC to death, that doesn't matter. It's kind of the same thing, I guess. But at least on Suku, you would have a CC immune ult to try and help out at least. I do think, in general though, the fact that you're just completely immune to any sort of damage in the old on Suku is what makes him so OP. Because you're literally just, you can, if you get a really good ult, where you're just hitting multiple targets, you're literally just dashing between people for like 3 seconds. You're wasting so much time for them while doing so much damage, and they have nothing to do as a counterplot to it. I think that's the big thing with him in Smite 2. I think that was way harder to do in Smite 1. Very rarely do I feel like you actually got that good ult on him. It feels like it happens a ton in Smite 2.
Priestess of the Elven Goddess, at your service.
Low-key Hades? Their combo is kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie, for me as an Afro. Why am I support this game? I mean, I guess I have to go Sunder, right? That's the support meta. Do I just go int? Probably not.
My preparations are complete.
Probably something like this. I have no fucking idea what the fuck support start with. I'm sure this is fine. I hit a good Q and I'm fucking stuck in support. I don't believe it. Man has picked Afro, get me out. I'm playing support, man. I hate getting this fucking roll. Imagine being second pick and getting support. An absolute fucking tragedy this is. Shit sucks. Fucked up life. And I'm not gonna play a front line into whatever fucking comp you have there. Hell nah. Better than getting support in this shit queue. You ain't wrong, but I think I can carry on support in this shit queue, because I just build it like a front line then. In this game, I'm just bad at it. In this game, I'm just against someone who is more than likely way better in support than me. Oh, you're playing Hades. Dude, we're playing Hades support and Afro support. Nice. Alright, actually, maybe this is fine. Maybe we're just both shit here. I actually like it. Wait, are you support main? I forgot. Are you solo support main?
Allow me to heal your wounds.
Ranged supports. I haven't seen this shit in a long fucking time. Should have kissed him first, actually. That's on me.
My blessing to you. My monarch is
This is so fucking stupid. What are we doing? Oh my god, the police.
allow me to dispose all
Dude, they're so low too. I hate this. Oh man.
Enemy has been slain.
No, I thought I got the kiss on him. I don't have any abilities for this shit now. Do I chase? No, man.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Ah, this shit sucks.
our souls.
I think that fight might have gone a lot better for us if I actually if I kissed him with the second I got the ability. There was a few seconds where I could have just healed him, but I just obviously kissed the fucking Uller instead for poke. Classic shit support players. I just joined what's happening. I don't know, man. I just live in it.
Gank left lane. Ultimate is ready.
Be gone.
Enemy has been slain.
Do not test me.
Your right tower is under attack. Nice job.
Tragic. My 3 didn't go off in time.
My mana restores you. Allow me to heal your wounds. My mana will return to the world.
Take a support for a support, I guess. Lifebinder done. Loki probably still has ult. Yeah.
Ally has been slain.
Your left tower is under attack.
Be gone.
I'm building stacks.
Yes. Fret not, little one. My blessing to you. Do not test me.
The rain shall wash them away.
Be gone.
Loki has no ult.
Retreat.
Enemy missing middle.
Yo, Seagull. What's up, man?
Our souls are linked. My mana restores you.
Gang. Ultimate is down.
Feel no pain.
This fucking Naga is fucking me up right now.
My blessing to you.
Enemy has been slain.
Ulted a bit too early as well. Still hungry for some SR.
Enemy missing.
Yeah, I would just like to get solo. That'd be nice. I do like playing that role. Compared to this shit role. I hate this role.
Be gone.
I'll take this blue buff.
You move like a jaguar.
Our souls are linked.
Set up an ambush here.
Tragic.
Be right back.
Do I go Chronos Pendant first? Maybe I do. Yeah, I think I'll go Chronos Pendant first. I want Stampede, but my cooldown's tragically long.
Defend the gold
On my
fury.
way.
On my way. Enemy missing.
On my way. My blessing to you.
Attack the gold fury.
Our souls are linked. Allow me to heal your wounds.
needs us under it.
Destroyed the Gold Fury. Your left tower is
Do
under
not
attack.
test me. My blessing to you.
French Paul. Well, we hate French Paul now. We just hate everyone now, don't we?
Your left tower is under attack.
Rain shall wash them away.
Oops. Wrong button.
Be gone.
Why did my acne dash the other way?
Completed.
Our souls are linked. Do not test me.
Who said hate? Alright, my bad.
On my way. My blessing to you. My monarch restores you. Be gone. I will be your savior.
Bro, the ADC is here.
I suppose all life truly an unfortunate.
That was fucking unexpected. I think my Agni is playing well, but I think he needs to concentrate his abilities a bit more on the Hades, because he's just so out of position all the time. Oops.
Your middle tower is under attack.
How is Seagull mod him not even VIP? I mean, Seagull's been in mod for fucking, I don't know, years at this point. I can't undo my past mistakes, you know?
Our souls are linked. Allow me to heal your wounds. Do not test me. On my way. Be gone. Please, forgive me.
That's me. I actually pushed him out of Agni 2 Agni bumps. That's on me.
Attack middle lane.
Whoops.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy. Ooh, an ally has been slain. Let's switch it up. Let's switch it up.
My monarch restores you. Feel no pain. Do not test me.
Left tower is under attack.
No, dude. All these Aegises. Roller Aegis.
Be gone.
Attack the Gold Fury.
Allow me to heal your wounds.
I don't have Sunder for this.
We need to.
Kiss was down.
My blessing to you. Out of mind.
Alright, time to get Stampede. My mindset is too much like a solo laner, man. Because I don't look at what's happening to my link target. I'm just trying to kill stuff myself. I just leave them in the dust. I look back, oh shit, maybe I should have ulted. I'm just not made out to play a character like this. Like, if I get her in solo, I play her like a mage. I don't play her around the link target. I don't.
Be gone. Enemies in middle lane. Do not test me.
Oh, he dashed out of my link. No, dude.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Tragic.
My blessing to you. Be gone.
Bro, poor Pablo. What's happening in solo?
Do not test me. Allow me to heal your wounds.
Wait, why did one drop? Oh, he picked it up, I see. I'll take it.
Our souls are linked.
Be careful.
My blessing to you. Be gone. My mana will.
My bad, I guess I shouldn't have followed Paul. I was a bit aggressive. Though I guess I also just kind of ran out of mana. Dude, what do supports build? Huge.
Has been slain.
What do I build on this character? Could be tempted to do Spirit Rope just because of the amount of CC that they have. Or like an easy fear or something like that. will just get me the proc. Gem of Focus? I don't know about that. I would like it, I think. But I want some kind of defense before I go back into damage, because I will go back into damage. Spirit Robe into... Actually, I could do Totem of Death for my team. Props a Spectral game. Spectral game? Why would I go Spectral? Oh, you mean just for like the attack speed? The anti-attack speed? Could maybe do that. But if I want to go anti-attack speed, I would rather just go for Pharaohs, I think. Like, that's just way better in my head if you want to go for that that angle. That is true. They are a full physical team as well. At this point, I guess I'm just gonna go Spit Rope, because otherwise...
Do not test me.
I'm just wasting my shit, but... Go Rod? I don't know about that. I don't think I have enough power to make Rod a good purchase here. I mean, Hades is not going full damage. I don't think I'm afraid of a
Souls are linked.
half-assed Hades damage build.
My mana assures you. I will be your savior. Be gone.
An enemy has left the game.
Well, didn't mean to join that with a single auto. I guess adapting DC, that's really unfortunate. That is such a bad timing for him to DC, because they were initiating on us. I didn't even know. I thought he just got one-shot by Susano, basically. He's been having a lot of crashes today. That's very strange. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's a driver issue? I don't know if he updated any drivers or something. I'm staying on like an old driver because all the new ones are shipped. So I wouldn't know, but that does suck. I can't tank for long, boys.
Allow me to heal your wounds. Our souls are linked. Be gone.
Enemy has been slain.
No pain.
I'm so dead if I got Hades ulted.
am more in tune
Let's
with the
grab.
flow of
Dude, I actually
mana.
want something that gives me mana regen. Fuck it. We're focused on the mana regen here. What can we get? Poly? Maybe Wildstone. Whatever, I'll go Wildstone. Give me that mana regen.
Yes, it is truly an unfortunate outcome.
You move like a jaguar. Ooh.
Our souls are linked. Do not test me.
Enemy has been slain. Be right back.
We're definitely trolling a bit here. Like we
Your left
could just do
tower
objectives
is under
and
attack.
win this so easily now.
Tower is under attack.
Regrowth. Could have done regrowth as well, that's true.
Your left tower is under attack.
Actually, regrowth would have been really clutch.
Tower is under attack.
Realistically, what I maybe should have gone with is... No, never mind. I mean, it's just a Bellona, but I was thinking Contagion.
The rain shall wash them away.
My mana restores you. My blessing to you. Our souls are linked.
Your team has destroyed our left enemy.
Oops. Not bad, I guess. Didn't see over. That wasn't good. They're gonna get a Phoenix back up now. I don't think it's tilting, it was just being a distraction. Like, it worked out for them. Our ADC died very early in that fight. Because an issue with our comp is that we don't have a legit frontline. Like, we don't have someone who can tank it for very long. Like... Actually, wait. Wukong is decently tanky, actually. He can tank it, but I can't.
Enemies at the fire giant.
Jaguar. Ooh.
I thought it was just the usual int Wukong, but that explains why he's not one-shotting everyone at this point in the game.
Rain shall wash them away.
I mean, he's still shitting on everyone, I guess.
Enemy has been slain.
Do not test me.
The rain shall
My
wash them away.
blessing to you. Our souls
It's
are
not the one I was trying to kiss, but that's alright.
Do not test me. My blessing to you.
Thank God I'm not playing support anymore.
May your travels be safe.
Victory.
Oh, you're gaining so many levels. Yeah, you get so much XP in Smite 2, man. It's crazy. You at least get like 120 levels per game. I don't even know how to feel about that game. That was just... I'm stuck in support. I hate my life. ADC ended up giving us fire. It was just... Yeah. Not a very satisfying game overall. Yeah, I did mention throughout my game, I don't know how Bologna lost that hard to Wukong. I don't. Especially early on too. That's not that bad of a matchup for Bologna, man. But I wasn't looking at his build, so I don't know. 0 and 15 is valid. I did see a Wukong go 0 and 10 last night, actually. I forgot who it was, though. One jungler in the queue. Whoever in 0 and 10 and Wukong must be horrendous. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's actually wild. Maybe that person's just not play Smite at all. It's actual waste of breath. Ah, shit. Stop healing. That's why I just go Aspect Nectura. You lock yourself into a form and then you don't have to think about it anymore. Easy peasy. Sublime Prolved. Why did I do that? Why am I stupid? I don't know why, but I think Smite 1 Wukong is much more satisfying to play than Smite 2 Wukong. Yeah, I don't think I agree, at least. I think outside of Onher still, he's probably the only one I would still mention I think feels better in Smite 1. But from what I remember, the only character... Like, I think everyone else feels better, to be honest. Just how they feel to play. You're not animation locked as much. I think that's the big reason for it. A lot of characters, like Hades as an example, you're just stuck when you use your 3. You're no longer stuck when you do that in Smite 2. Like Ymir's 2 as well, you're just stuck when you use it in Smite 1. You're not stuck in anymore. It just feels more smooth to play. I like that stuff. And most characters have that. You don't feel very locked into animation anymore. I don't like any of these cards. Dude, we already know it's going to be Seagull on that team, because no one else bans Merc. There's only one person who's afraid enough of Merc in this game right now to actually ban it. And he's right there. I can smell him. Right. I'm in the middle lane. I'll do you on this game. I appreciate chamomile, because I need it when I'm sick. I don't drink it for fun, but that's always the tea that I go with if I'm sick. No hate here. Yeah, I mean, ginger lemon is pretty strong one too. I've had my issues with ginger in the past though. Not anymore, but maybe I should try it again. Oh yeah, I mean I've had huge issues with acid reflux and stuff. I take pills for that shit. I have a lot of stomach acid in general. It's been a problem my whole life. And by my whole life, I mean, I don't know, I guess I was like 15 or something when I started. My whole life. Granted, when I say that, that is quite literally half my life ago now. I just had to depress myself. Olch. That's a lot of damage you got there, sir. Cannot do anything about it. Yes, I can. That's good. I'm there in 4 years, don't worry. Oh, I will worry. It's what I do. I mean, I have to go beach just because of the damn elephant. That darn elephant.
Very well then.
Very well then. Worry about my vocal cords more than do about my age. And if you put a lot of strain on them, then yeah, that makes sense. Right now, I'm just a lazy piece of shit that don't do anything during my daily life. Well, I'm saying lazy, I just don't have anything else to do. Granted, I should do some more exercise. I've been so lazy with that. I will do Linkin Park songs if it killed me. I think you can do it. I believe in you.
Oh, how refreshing.
Yes. Woohoo!
Actually, this is a pretty good queue. I wasn't looking, but this is a good one. No, man. What is this? Where's the respect? Man, what gentleman rules? Bro, I just also now realized my... Why does it have the cooldown for part of it, bro? Oh my god. Let's grab this thing. I hate when you press on something and it buys this shit instead. I should have looked, too busy looking at chat I guess at the time. Just back and fix that now. No wonder I felt like my autos were doing less damage. Because they fucking were.
Do not worry.
How does Zeus' speed build?
Enemy spotted.
Guess not. He backed.
Enemy missing.
He just backed.
Enemy has been slain.
Enemy spotted.
A new threshold. Get through this.
He's 5, careful.
Watch your step. Enemy missing middle. Be careful right. Okay. Oh, foul beast. A great victory. Get through this.
That's too bad. Yes.
A new threshold.
Be right back. Building stack.
Get through this.
I missed on purpose, guys. I missed on purpose, guys. My Thana was coming, you know? I swear. Don't shoot me.
Get through this.
Your left tower is under attack.
Actually, it's more accurate to say I didn't even mean to press the button. I got one. I'll take it. Okay.
Ally has been slain.
Get through the way is open.
It's just back.
Your left
A new
tower is
threshold.
under
Before I do that, I want to see if I can just yoink a quick one here.
Now is the hour.
Guess not.
A new threshold. The way is open. A new threshold.
It's probably best that we're not fighting early on. I want to fight. And the sun's hitting my face. Fantastic. Alright, give me a second, guys. Holy slap in the face by the sun. Holy moly. I'm blind now.
Enemy missing middle.
Enemy spotted.
A new pressure enemy ultimate down.
Your left tower.
Ram all done.
Enemy spotted.
Need healing. Sorry.
Beyond incoming, beyond.
Enemy ultimate down.
The rain shall wash them away.
Enemy missing right.
Get through this.
Fucking helpless syndrome. Why am I going there? I'm just losing farming mid instead.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Pablo the Goat just absolutely risking his life so I can get my XP.
Get through this.
I gotta stop randomly throwing out my 2.
A new pressure.
Completed.
The rain shall wash them away.
The way is open.
Attack enemy.
Get through this. Get through this.
Your left tower is under attack.
What do I want actually? Still Soul Gem. I don't really think of Soul Gem much like a Giannis item, but I kind of want to try it this game. See how it feels. Give it a shot.
Yes.
The pyromancer has arrived.
Just ult for him. Alright, he didn't need it, it's fine. But yeah, I'll gladly ult Nectura for my team. Or just for damage. I don't think you should hold to Giannis ult that much. Especially with a build like this, like it's... That is not the ability I was trying to press. Whoops. Just hope Zeus doesn't show up behind me. Didn't have a proc glitch? Oh shit, if it does I might just have to sell it. Just not a mana. He didn't even have to go in. My ul is greedy, but fair enough, I get it. Would have been okay if, actually, if my mana didn't go out. They're all coming to Paul.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Fuck, bro, I'm fucking missing everything. I have no mana, boys. I can't really fight.
No, no, no.
I mean, if I hit that on Ganesh, it wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have finished him off. That was just a bit unfortunate. Wasn't really a fight we should have taken, I think. We got Zeus beats as well. We should have just gotten on after that. Okay, well, if that's glitched, I'm always just gonna sell it. Whatever.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyramids.
Let's get an early Signet. I'll go... I don't think I need prots or like pen this early. I think I can deal with just going for rod.
Enemy has been slain.
Enemy ultimate down.
Range, wash them away.
Your right tower is under attack.
Enemy has been slain.
Your right tower is under attack.
Range, wash them
Fucking hell.
away.
Why do I feel like I don't damage Zeus that much? That's crazy. Like 450-ish on Zeus feels like pretty low for my 2 when it hits him even in the middle. Zeus doesn't have any protection in his kit, does he? At least I don't think he does.
Be right back. Enemy has been slain.
Excitement. The way is open.
Your left tower is under attack.
Tragic.
Wash them away.
Your left tower is under attack.
Get him, boys. Get him. I'll TP over as well, boys.
The pyro has arrived.
Completed. A new threshold.
That was a nice fight, Babu. My goat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn it, dude. I didn't get to pick it up in time because someone was coming.
Sorry.
The way is open. No. That's too bad.
That's too bad.
Be right back. A new threshold. Ward here.
Your left tower is under attack.
On my way.
Your middle tower is under attack.
I'll defend.
Your left tower is under
A
attack.
new threshold.
On my way. Gang! Gang! Enemies in right lane!
Be careful. A new threshold.
Your right tower is under attack.
I was hoping that he was going to juke behind tower.
Your right tower has been destroyed.
A new threshold. Get through this.
Let's switch it up. Enemy has been slain.
Okay.
A new threshold.
Wash them away.
Get through this.
Fabuloso. Mis amigos. Oh, black and jaguar.
A new threshold. Ultimate is ready. Get through this.
Fuck. My mana is low for this, I think.
Yes. Retreat. A new threshold.
Damn. If Seagull didn't show up when he did, I was probably just gonna stay behind that wall, wait for my ult to get back up, and ult over the wall. But I think Thana got both the kills anyway on Susan and Ganesh, so might be okay. Speed buff. This time I got it.
We need war.
The way is open. Yes. Attack. Do not worry. As it were then. A new threshold.
Grab some wards as well.
Enemy ultimate incoming. A new threshold. Cancel that. A new threshold.
On my way.
A new threshold.
Enemy has been slain.
No one's taking my portals, man.
Set up an ambush here. Set up an ambush. Enemy spotted. Attack.
Be right back. So sorry.
Retreat! Your right tower is under attack. Be right back. Retreat!
Ally has been slain.
Your right tower is under attack.
Fuck, man. I was hoping he was looking to stand still. Fucking hell. Sad. That was a bad ult. I saw someone low and I was expecting them to just start backing. Should have just waited until that was the case.
Get through this. Enemy has been slain. Sorry.
Bad portal.
No, no, no.
Attack. Yes. A new threshold. Get through this. A new threshold. Get through this.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Get through this.
I really want to look for someone, but it's tough when we don't have enough vision for it. I might be able to do like a quick... I don't think it's gonna be full one shot, but it's gonna be very, very close.
A new threshold.
Enemy spotted.
That's 3 in mid, they're going towards fire.
The rain shall wash them away.
Enemy.
Portals if you need them. I hit someone for 1k. Ram all down.
Kill us, my boss. Enemy.
Ramo just dashed.
The way open. Attack. Get through this.
Careful.
I'm dead, I guess. Sue's all down. Not too sure where we are for this, for them to just go on me like this. But I guess it worked out.
The rain shall wash them away. Ally has been slain.
Damn. Pain died, respawned, instantly died again. That was a bit awkward, but oh well. Still worked out.
Retreat. Let's switch it up.
A new threshold.
Be right back.
A new threshold.
Be careful. Your right tower is under attack.
Ambush here.
Attack fire giant. Your right tower is under attack.
A new threshold.
Your right tower is under attack. Attack. An enemy has left the game.
Yeah, there is again. Really bad timing that it happens for him.
No, no, no.
An enemy has returned.
Yes.
The rain shall wash them away.
Double ult. Dude, I can't even see what the fuck the Zeus ult is.
I do believe I overstayed my welcome.
Enemy has been slain.
Fuck. It's tragic. I baited at fucking nothing that fight. Beating your own CC. I mean, I did it because we could have just ended all of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
Victory.
I think that was a really good Janus game up until team fighting began, and then I just had so many issues trying to figure out what I could be doing or should be doing. Because our fights were very, very split. We almost got fucked up real hard though by that Zeus ult. I think it was just chain lightning on me though, because I don't think I was inside the ultimate, but I almost got one shot by that. That portal, yeah, it was a good one. Made it just in time. I think you've been in a lot of my old games as well, because you're bonkers, right? Right, Viper? Is that a rename, or... Because you're definitely good. I don't really think I've seen you before. Change the name every week. Gotcha. Fair enough. A lot of people do that these days. It makes it so hard to keep track of people, though. Don't know who anyone is. I actually don't like Janus' skins here. I think they're just very muted. I don't know why. I don't like any of them. I think... I'm pretty sure I played a game with you yesterday as well in the old, where I also played Janus. But maybe that was the day before. I don't remember. Sigil worth on mages? Wait, what the fuck is Sigil? What is Sigil, actually? The item that scales with levels? But why don't I know what the fuck that even is? Is it an int item? Like, are we talking about this one? Like Ancient Signet? Or are we talking about something else? Oops. Oh yeah, Ancient Signet definitely is. Yeah, absolutely. Ancient Signet is very good on poke mages. It's basically an extra like 250 damage on one of your abilities. So like on the full int Wukong, it is amazing. On Janus, I like it. I don't think it's a necessity, but I do like it. It helps when you land a good one late game, it will just chunk the shit out of them. Or not one, or a good two. Or even an ult, for that matter. It's nice on the ones where you kind of need that extra poke. Use it on Xbalanque looks good. Yeah, I think Xbalanque is probably a character I think I would go with something else, but I can easily see it being like, I don't think it's bad on him. I think my usual build ends up having Signet as a filler item, and on Xbalanque I have to go Murden, because it's just way too OP, so I think that generally takes the spot instead of Signet. But my build is also a bit weird, because I usually play him in solo. So Signet procs on your one, yeah. Poly doesn't, because it doesn't count as an auto attack. It counts as an ability. So ability procs are completely fine. But I don't think Poly is good on him. Well, no, I think it could be, but it's a bit awkward, I think, to use when it doesn't proc on the one. But you can easily do like a 2 auto for Poly, and then ult, and 2 again, and then auto again for Poly. You can definitely do some weird shit with Poly for sure. Damn you, Bucky Q. I actually forgot. I need to check. I think I went Soul Gem on one of my Janus games. But if people are saying it's bugged, I guess I shouldn't try it, but it feels like it would be a decent item on him. I want to check tracker real fast. Yeah, I did. And I got super fed in that game too. But yeah, in that game I went Spirit of Deso, Soul Gem, Upshard, Rod, Signet, and then Gem of Focus. So I guess I just swapped the build around us, because it's probably the same shit I would have built this game. I just started with Gem of Focus instead. And I don't know, I don't feel like Janus really needs Gem of Focus early on. Maybe that's just me though. Bruh, not again. No Thoth in mid? I don't think so. I don't think Book of Thoth is worth it. I think there were just better items right now. Bro, get me in the game. I wouldn't build Book and Thoth on anyone but Kukulkan. It's the only character, and that's just because of the amount of power he gets out of that item is absolutely insane. With all the mana it gives. But outside of Kukulkan, I don't really think the item is worth it, personally. But I'm also a bit more, like, I try to be aggressive in mid. I hate not being able to fight. And Book of Thoth is an item where once you finish it, it's pretty weak. Like, you need time to finish it, you know? And then it's good, don't get me wrong. I don't think the item itself is bad. But the way I play, I like to just finish my items and just get straight into it. I'll only make an exception if the item is generally really powerful, like Devos is. Like, the lifesteal builds are too powerful. I can't really ignore Devos when I play physical characters in solo. Kinda need to build it. Speaking of exactly that, I'm not really getting solo much today. Or at least, I mean, I got 2 solo games, but in both those games I got Tsukuyomi, and I went in Tsukuyomi, so... I gotta get in there. Use some of the shit that I've actually wanted to play today. And by that, I mean just the lifesteal builds. When Contagion, I was boxing Bologna Stana. Yeah. Contagion is very good, and very underutilized item in the current meta. It completely screws over that build. I'm in. We're definitely stacked, but the enemy team is going to be stacked as well. I'm happy to be in Sav's team, though. I always end up being against Sav. My goat. I gotta get a shop. Take me to the shop. Maybe a chalk game. Yeah, I want to play chalk. We're getting Osiris soon. Yeah, he's probably going to be pretty decent, I would imagine, in this meta. Okay, I'm very happy I went chalk, because the other pick I was going to go with was CERN, and into that team comp with no CC immunes in his kit would have been terrible. That would have been not great. This feels kind of cooked. Actually, it's fine. That's a lot of damage you got there, buddy. Good thing I have a lot of shielding. Our comp is so old school. Ymir, Chug, Thor, Scylla, and on her. This feels like almost like some season 2 type stuff. Actually, it is. Like season 2 and below. Insane. Well, I am going beats. What am I even against? Saul. Dude, Seagull! He's addicted to that character, man.
minions have spawned.
Every time I'm against Seagull recently, it's been Saul. An absolute snooze fest into that character. But you know what? At least it's not something like, I don't know, Mordred or I don't fucking know, some other annoying shit. At least I can just farm into Saul. Even though she is gonna be unboxable for me. I won't be able to fight her until I have enough abilities to throw out myself. Tragic. Did I miss both creeps? I did. That is a fucking tragedy. I thought I got the creeps. And I did it again. Absolute sorting the shit out of myself. What am I doing, man? It has to stop. Enough. I won't do it again. This is so dumb. I wasn't sure if Thor wanted to gank. I was trying to poke a little bit. Holy moly, I really zoned the fuck out of myself here though. Just gotta farm for now. As boring as that may be. Need 2 relics ASAP. I think I'm pretty impartial towards the whole situation. If we get 2 relics, or don't, like it doesn't really matter that much to me, to be honest. Like, I think both parts have, like, ups and downs. I do think that having 1 relic I mean, it adds a different kind of dynamic to the game. And obviously, sure, I mean, it adds less counterplay as a whole. But I don't know, I think 2 relics will also give so many characters the easiest escapabilities of their entire lives. It's so hard to kill someone with both beats and Ages. It's really, really annoying. I understand why they wanted to get away from it. But the issue with Smite is that they've made it so much about CC. So I also get why people are annoyed about it, because there's so much fucking CC in this game.
Enemy spotted. Enemy has been slain. Sorry.
I'm falling really far behind because we ain't really getting the firebrands either.
Sorry.
And I don't need the XP for my blue, which I did not get last time.
Into the night. Savor the moment.
On my way.
I think he knows he's in his tower now. How low are they? I can't even tell. Fuck me, dudes. Wish I had my ult up. I'm just gonna go pendulum. Fuck it. I'm waiting with the rest. Or they're getting cooked by the porp.
The rain shall wash them away. Your middle tower is under attack.
Save yourself!
Enemy missing left.
Dude, I'm 2 levels behind now. Fucking hell. That was such a bad death.
Your middle tower is under attack. Enemy ultimate down. Your right tower is under attack. Enemies in on my way.
I'll take it, I guess. I need that kill.
I'll feel that in the morning.
It does look like we're kind of getting cooked everywhere. A little bit.
Your left tower is under attack.
An enemy has been slain.
Enemy missing left.
Be careful, middle.
Your right tower is under attack.
Careful, middle. On my way. The rain shall wash them away. Fabuloso!
Retreat. Enemy missing left.
Oh, you move like a jaguar. Oh, you move like a jaguar.
The enemy team has destroyed the Gold Fury. Enemy tower. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. The enemy team has destroyed the Pyromancer. Your right tower is under attack. Enemy spotted.
Man, just don't think these are good fights for us to take.
No problem.
Alright. Time for Sanguine.
Right tower is under attack. No problem. No problem.
Oh no, man. Don't start arguing, team.
Nice job. Awesome.
We can do this. I believe in us. Oh, my lane is so pushed though.
Tower is under attack.
Ally has been slain.
Your right tower is under attack.
Minions, holy shit, they're so blind.
Your right tower is under
Are
attack.
they just on fire? Can fucking see for the trees.
Enemies at the fire giant. Enemy team has destroyed the fire.
Tragic.
Enemy has been slain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really know what's happening this game. It feels like there's so little pressure around mid, and I'm just getting absolutely roasted in solo with bots showing up, and we're not really getting much for it, and it's just, oh, it's just awkward. It's just awkward.
The enemy team has destroyed the pyromancer. Your left tower is under attack.
I do have to swap this button at least, though. I was trying to press my sanguine, I was on the wrong fucking button.
Enemy missing. Careful right.
The enemy team has destroyed the gold fury.
Death, fire. Fire.
Man, I really don't want to surrender, man. I didn't suffer my whole laning phase just so we could surrender.
Yes.
Boys. I don't think I'm gonna press F6. I don't think so. Unless we just die here, because then we can't fight back anyway.
Your right tower is under attack.
Whoops. That's the button I wanted to press. That was great.
Your right tower has been destroyed.
I'm trying once. Just once.
Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has been destroyed. Your middle phoenix is under attack. Your right phoenix is under attack.
I believe we can still win this game, frustrating as it might be. Well, I'll just give this one more shot. We have a really good defense comp, so mainly with a Cell and a Chuck. But that requires some farm. We're really far behind. The more I look at it, actually. Damn, who didn't surrender? I mean, I don't think this is too quick to F6. We're 12k behind, and we're very far behind in XP, which is arguably the bigger thing. We're tragically far behind in XP.
The pyromancer has arrived.
I don't actually like what I've built here. This should have been Crusher, then should I have maybe Titans and then Heartseeker. Like something like that. I want... whatever. I just want to try all this fucking lifesteal nonsense.
Has destroyed the pyromancer. Your middle phoenix is under attack.
keep pressing the wrong fucking button. Rip my sanguine stacks. At least we can use this chance to get some farm. No, dude, I was gonna fucking sanguine them. I got knocked up by something. What knocked me up? I'm so confused. I mean, it has to have been like a very small knock up. Probably just the solo ult, I guess, but that wasn't for me, I think. That was really weird.
Your left Phoenix is under attack. Your middle Phoenix is under attack.
No, okay, dudes. Actually, what am I seeing on Zilla here?
Your left Phoenix has been destroyed.
No, dude, I fucked up. I'm just ass. Maybe I was crippled, maybe that's why I couldn't TP, but... Agnes should have been dead to my 1-2. Alright, my bad team. I really wanted to play it out. I'm sorry for not surrendering here. I was an F7 warrior. But I really think we could actually have won this game. But the small wins we got, we just... Still never really used... Like, we just ran in and died right after. I think we could have still just come back from that. Oh well. I don't like this build on Scylla though. I don't know why he went Gem of Focus as well as Chronos Pendant. Like, both of them are just terrible together. You have so little power in that build. And Scylla needs that power badly. This was also pretty much not fun into Sol as well. It's such a boring matchup no matter what, because you cannot like win in a 1v1 into Sol right now. She's like the new Morrigan in solo. Have fun not being able to play the game for a while. Like, to deal with Sol, I would have to do the same thing. Like, maybe I could deal with it if I played CERN. There is a chance I could deal with it. At a certain point, I don't think I can anymore, but I think at least I should be able to win the early game. I think I can outbox that. So if I see Sol being picked again, I'll try CERN, see if that works better. I also did not look at the time, actually. That probably should have been my last game, but I'll do one more now that I'm in one. Let's just grab all the relics. I actually don't have that many good cards in this one. I didn't even notice. I have so many relics, but I barely have any cards. What act is this? I don't know if I can see that somewhere. I mean, that's probably a Baron solo, no? Guess I'll play Wukong. I want to play a CERN, but against that team comp, that probably ain't happening. CERN into Baron is just a free loss. With how I want to play it anyway. All of my gold? I mean, I have 62, you know, fuck it. There you go.
An enemy has returned.
Right. Solo is.
Out of this world.
Wait, Giannis? Giannis solo. Okay. These Qs are pretty big as well. It is funny to see Purple Orb in them with how big of a meme he was in an earlier stage of Smite 2. He's been playing hard. He's definitely not bad anymore.
Minions have spawned.
I haven't played Wukong in a little while, so I'll do it. Slave away on it just a little bit.
No matter.
It's Conduit, I guess? Yeah. Makes sense. Not many things can beat the Giannis clear like that.
Your right tower is under attack.
Let's just grab a birch.
Be careful.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Doing early back. This might also be a Charles game.
No matter. Be right back.
Your right tower is under attack. Enemy missing right.
Be right back.
My fists have a message for you. What?
Your left tower is under attack.
Man, that is so annoying that that's the difference maker. Is the fucking Scylla showing? Oh, not the Scylla. The fucking mid laner showing up.
Unfortunate.
That is the worst possible thing. and the most boring outcome. Because I'm just getting fucked for that. I lost my full wave for that. Did I lose blue as well? I did. Fuck me, dude. That's so tilting.
On my way.
Enemy has been slain. The rain shall wash them away.
Like, I'll still be okay. Like, I'm fucking Wukong. But still, it's wildly tilting in a situation where I actually felt like we kind of had the upper hand. Not like fully, but like Merc was very healthy. They were going on me. I was getting them pretty low. I was able to get out, actually. Except Baron showed up. I was no longer out.
Enemy has been slain.
Let's get Chronos Pendant online.
Very good.
Like, I should be okay either way once I hit around the 3-item mark-ish.
Enemy missing left.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with Janus. I don't really think Janus solo is that bad right now. If you really circle against your matchup, you can just go Lifebinder. Have fun, you're never fucking killing him.
Enemy missing left. Falling point.
On my way.
Enemy ultimate down! Be careful!
I'm out of mana, dude. I don't believe it. I'm so tilted this game.
Your right tower is under attack.
But also, how expensive is my ult? 100 mana is also fucking insane. Oh well. It might just be the play to rotate and try and help out and get back into the game that way.
The rain shall wash them away. Up close.
Until next
Enemy
time.
missing right. Your right tower is under attack.
I will attack left lane. A 200 no matter.
Help.
Okay,
He's just sitting in the bush.
sorry. I'm going for jungle buff. Falling back. Sorry. No matter. A 200 IQ.
Enemy missing.
Be careful.
Oh, we're against Nadia in a different game, Doran. I mean, Cuckoo is a skill-based character, so it is possible to have bad games on him sometimes. I think that maybe I...
Your right tower is under attack.
Yeah, that sucks. There's not enough damage yet to really make a difference.
Your right tower.
And I didn't get the kill on Umoja, so my rotation was completely negated in terms of XP.
Your right tower is under attack.
And how have we not ganked him yet?
Thanks.
I'll attack middle lane. Until next our paths cross.
Pyromancer has arrived.
Enemy has been slain.
Enemies incoming middle. Your right tower is under attack.
No! Another kill I could have gotten.
That was a good fight.
Whatever. I'm now in fucking Tiger form as well, just to make everything worse. It's an absolute fucking tragedy.
Sorry.
Enemy ultimate.
I'm just desperately trying to get some kills here, man, so I can get back into the game. But my Ymir keeps taking them all.
Miss on it, man.
Your left tower is under attack.
Enemy missing left.
Aladdin and right. They're just gonna TP to left.
Retreat left lane.
I wasn't close enough to the wall to jump over it. That's tragic.
Your left tower is under attack. Be careful.
Retreat.
No.
under attack.
This is one of those games where it feels like shit because I'm being punished from their jungler, and still we're just not doing the right thing and just falling the fuck back. We just stick around, we then lose the fight on that side too. We're just even further behind. It sucks. We knew what was gonna happen too. Didn't look at the time. Thought that was gonna be the Firebrands.
Your team has destroyed the pyramid. Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower. Cancel that. An enemy has left the game.
Unfortunate.
Enemy has been slain. Your left tower is under attack. An enemy has returned.
Do I just go Signet?
Use the bomb on that?
On my way.
An enemy has left the game.
And the rain shall wash them away. You are fabuloso.
An enemy has returned.
Yeah, that's all coming in.
An enemy has left the game.
Damn, I do not know what's happening with adapting, but it really sucks.
An enemy has returned.
That's too bad.
I don't know why this game has tilted me as much as it has, but I'm so fucking tilted. It might also be the fact that I'm also hungry. I should be eating dinner right now.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Who the fuck did this? I mean, there is a chance in this game. At least my teammates are doing well. I think the main issue is currently on me. I mean, people was doing fine too, but his Ymir is taking all his kills.
Oh my god, you rock.
No.
Yes.
I beg, I beg.
On my way.
Oh, negative damage.
Enemy has been slain.
Guess my beats were down. I forgot about that. Janus. I'm just not in the headspace to play Smite right now, I think. What am I seeing? My Ymir, man.
And dangerous.
He built Book of Thought though. I hate that. I feel like it's just a bad Giannis item. How the fuck did I lose to that? What does that make me? Fucking everything's down.
One use is all I need.
Enemy missing mid-eye.
Oh, easy wrong.
Baron, bolt. Ult Baron. I mean, he has no beats, no ult.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oh, you move like a shot.
Bro, my fucking stick isn't long enough yet.
Destroy the left enemy tower.
Enemy has been slain. Slain an enemy. Enemy ultimate down.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Like,
You
yeah,
know,
my
Jolt.
ult just fucked through. Did you see that?
Fucked me too.
Yeah, man,
That's
take someone
sad.
else's farm.
I am hangry. I am very hangry at the moment. I wasn't planning on queuing another one. I just didn't look at the time. I just queued out of instinct and habit, I guess. Ugh. I was supposed to have left now.
Enemy missing. Ward the fire giant.
Problem is, when I get hungry, I get impatient, I get annoyed easily, and I start lacking focus, and I get tired. Like, oh my god, boys. Oh, huge damage on the land, though.
And rain shall wash them away. Oh, my air is strong. Oh, you move like a shot. Hasta la vista, amigo.
Your right tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack. Behold!
I saw that game on the
I need farm, man.
Same, man.
It's fine.
No.
I need it because of you.
Because of me? What have I done?
No worries, Kuda, no worries, man.
Be careful, right? Enemies in the jungle.
Your team has destroyed the pyramid. Your team has destroyed the right enemy tower.
Enemies. Help right lane.
Spotted.
Yes.
Your left tower is under attack.
The rain shall wash them away.
I'm backing and I'm coming.
Your left tower is under attack.
They have summed up.
I bomb. Just let Aggie begin.
Your left tower is under attack.
I'm getting some good poke here.
Attack.
Your team has destroyed the fire tower.
Enemy has been slain.
Your team has destroyed the right enemy tower.
Gank. Attack. Attack.
Oh shit!
Run!
Attack.
Fucking race car Aladdin incoming.
Left and gold.
Incoming left.
Gank. Enemy ultimate incoming.
I'll go solo gold. Carrot.
The pyroman has arrived. Your team has destroyed the gold fjord.
The rain shall wash them away.
Good job though, my bad.
Enemy has been slain.
And mid now? Or left? Oh, we can.
Attack.
Oh.
Can I get red Gunter? Do you want it?
Wait, what did you say?
I was just asking Gunter if he wants red or if I can take it.
I think you take it anyway, man.
I don't know about that.
Bro, don't be a pussy, just take it, man.
I don't know if I can deny him his red buff, you know? I gotta respect it.
You can, I'll take it, You know what, I'll take it.
No, man!
See? This is all it took.
You can blame Snotty on that one.
Not just end.
Your team has destroyed the Pyromancer.
Enemy spotted. Completed. You're welcome.
I mean, that's both their ults. Zapno, Janus. Then the game now.
That's who you ult.
Your right tower is under attack. Your team has destroyed a middle enemy Phoenix.
Enemy ultimate incoming.
Your right tower is under attack.
GG's.
Bye.
I'm still tilted, by the way.
Victory.
Thanks, Gunsmith.
That game actually tilted the fuck out of me. But still late game Wukong. You will still do what needs to be done. As long as the game goes that far. Alright. Before I tilt myself off the earth, I will go make some food and relax a bit. It's been 4 hours anyway. And I mean, I think I made progress for once. First time I think in like maybe 5 streams where I actually won more than I lost. So, I'll take that as a W, I guess. Decent games today. Alright, thanks guys, appreciate it. I'll see you next time.